Good morning, Richard Fulmer here. Welcome to another edition of Richard's Rock Rambles. But before we go any further today, I just want to please ask you guys if you have any comments, any suggestions, any critique about what I've done, please put it down below in the comments section. And also remember to like and subscribe. Be greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. Okay, so today we're going to have another look at a band who I think should be a lot bigger. They also haven't been going that long, from around 2005, I think. They hail from Sweden. They were formed in Varberg, hope I have that right, in Sweden in 2001. The band I'm talking about is the band Kamchatka. Quite an interesting name there. So the original lineup was Thomas Jr. Anderson, guitar and vocals, Roger Orgeson, bass and vocals, and Tobias Strandvik, drums. I really hope I've pronounced those correctly. So that was the original lineup, and all in all they've done 7 albums. Of the 7 I have 6. One I'm missing is the most recent one. They've also had some past members, Linus Carlson on bass and vocals. And they also have the current bassist, who is Per Wiberg, or Wiberg. He's on bass and vocals, as well as keyboards. These guys, their style, if you listen to the guitarist, Thomas Anderson, you can definitely hear a Hendrix influence. That goes without saying. There's also a bit of grand funk, that sort of garage rock type feel. There's a bit of psych going on, definitely blues, stoner stuff, bit of prog, some elements of jazz. When they started out, they were primarily a blues rock power trio. That was their sound. But then as the albums went on, they changed up a bit and they kind of got their own identity. Very hard to pigeonhole them. I think after like the 3rd album, the first 2 were quite easy to categorize. Great band. The good thing about it is they have 2 lead singers in the original lineup. And I think Per Wiberg also does a bit of backing vocals now. But in the beginning it was 2 lead, which is quite cool because you can get the different styles of singing, the different sounds to their voices. A very tight band. Obviously with a trio you have to be tight. There's very little room for error. Great bass work. Just an all-round tight blues rock band with a bit of psych and a bit of jazz. These guys have also formed a side project called King Hobo. And King Hobo consists of Thomas Anderson, the guitarist from Kamchatka, Per Wiberg on keyboards and bass, Jean-Paul Gaster on drums. You might recognize that name. He's from the band Clutch, another band that I personally think should be massive. Anyway, that's a story for another day. So that's the side project. That's more sort of jazz, rock, fusion based, a little different to Kamchatka. The most recent album of Kamchatka is the one called Hoodoo Lightning from 2019, last year's album. That's the one I don't have. So what I'm going to do is just go through quickly the albums that I have. There's not a lot. There's 7 albums, like I said. And just point out the notable tracks to you. And these are albums that you should definitely look out for. I think they're pretty much all available still. They're still in print. They haven't been... I think the first one was 2005. And that one was simply called Kamchatka. That's the cover over there. They're the guys at the back. This one was really a lot of blues, Hendrix, quite melodic in parts. Some of the standout tracks here, Out of My Way, Seed, that's a really good track. Nice guitar work on that. Mixed Emotions, Incognito. I think there's about 14 tracks on here. So it's quite a long album, but I don't think the tracks are that long. They're about 3-4 minutes is the average length of the tracks on this album. So this one came out, I think, in 2005, the first one. A friend of mine, Tony Stoop, was the guy who introduced me to this band, and I was hooked from the first album. I just love the guitar tones that Thomas Anderson gets. And I'm a huge Hendrix fan, so obviously I also gravitated towards that. Then we move on to Kamchatka Volume 2. Weren't being very adventurous yet with the titles for the albums, simply called Volume 2. Same lineup. Terminus, Withstand, From Here, Enemy Maker, that's a great track, got a sort of a nice galloping vibe to it. Jigsaw, Sweet Relief. Let's see if there's anything I can show you on the inside. No, there's a picture of the guys. That's the guitarist. He was the bassist and he was the drummer, if I've got that right. Yes. So that was Volume 2 by Kamchatka. Then we move on to possibly my favorite album, Volume 3. Also, haven't yet got anywhere with the title. So that's the cover. This is a great album. It's a very quirky album as well. Some of their lyrics are quite out there. I don't know if it's because English is not their first language and the translation, etc., but quite funny in parts. Astro Bucks, that is a great sort of psych track with lots of cool guitar. Look Over Your Shoulder. Sea, that's a great track. Sorg, which is an instrumental with this really moody guitar, sort of sad guitar lick from Thomas Anderson. Amazing track. That's probably my favorite on the album. Outnumbered, Guess I'll Be Leaving, and then as a bonus track on here, they do a really great version of the Allman Brothers track Whipping Post. And on drums as a guest, they have Jean-Paul Gaster, who of course plays with Thomas in King Hobo. He guests on that track. Really great track. A good version of that particular track. Some nice guitar work as well. So that's Whipping Post, which was the Allman Brothers track, which is one of their big hits. On a number of these early albums, Per Weiberg guests on keyboards, and he would obviously later on become a permanent member of the band. He of course played with Spiritual Beggars. I think he also played with Opeth. A really accomplished musician and a great guy to have in your band. He's very versatile. So that's Volume 3, one I can really recommend. If you want to maybe start out with these guys, first go with Volume 3. Then we move on to Bury Your Roots. That's the cover there. There's the guys at the back. You can see. This would be the last one to feature the original bassist, Roger Orgeson. For me, it was a bit of a shame because it was so nice to have the two different lead vocals playing, a couple of tracks for this guy, a couple of tracks for that guy, and even together they sounded quite great. But he obviously had other plans. TV Blues is a good track. Some nice melodic guitar on that one. Puppet, Worried, and the title track, Bury Your Roots, is a heavy track. It really rocks hard. Probably the strongest track on the album, the title track. So that's Bury Your Roots. Great album, I like that cover. Then we move on to the first one to feature Per Weiberg on bass and vocals. There's a great picture of them in the inside there. That's Per Weiberg over there. And that's the drummer in the middle, and there's old Thomas at the end there. Some Days, Tango, Decadence, Coast to Coast, Pressure, Cross the Distance, The Search Goes On. As Per Weiberg joined them, or when he joined them, you could see they were going in a slightly heavier direction. I think that might be his influence of being in bands like Spiritual Beggars, which was more of a stoner band. So he's brought a bit of that into the band. They haven't completely lost their blues sort of roots, but they've just gone in a slightly different direction. Still a great band, and this is a really strong album as well. And then the last one that I have is the one called Long Road Made of Gold. And this came out in 2008, I think. That's the cover there. Quite a cool cover of sort of a desert scene with the guys with the horses. I'm just going to open it up for you. There you can see. And there they are all sitting on a couch. Somewhere in the desert. Another strong album, Take Me Back Home, Get Your Game On, Made of Gold, Human Dynamo, Slowly Drifting Away. Just what I like about these guys as well is they're very tight. You can see they've been around the block a few times and they know their stuff. There's no sloppy playing here. And the song structures are good, the writing is good. And it must be very difficult when English is not your first language to write songs for the general market. But I think they've managed that pretty well. And they've been on some big tours. They've toured with Clutch, who on a number of occasions, and obviously Gaster playing with him in King Hobo. Their styles are similar in a way. There's a bit of a stoner resemblance to both bands. And amongst, a couple of other bands as well. They do a lot of touring, obviously, in Sweden. At the moment, obviously, there's not much touring going on at all. But, so that's the last one I have. And then the one I mentioned before, Hoodoo Lightning from last year, is a lot heavier, from what I've heard. It looks like they're going more into the stoner side of things. It's almost metallic. So I'm hoping that in the next one they go back a bit more to the sort of blues, jazz, fusion kind of thing. So let's just quickly look at Sweden is amazing. They have got so many great bands. I don't know if it's something in the water there, but they just seem to churn them out. And they're all competent musicians, different styles, blues, rock, jazz, fusion, prog, you name it. They have it in that country. They one after the other, great bands. I just want to mention a few for you so you can go and check them out. Besides Kamchatka that I've been talking about. There's a band called Blues Pills. They play blues rock, a bit of Hendrix, bit of Cream, that kind of early 70s rock style. Great female lead singer in that band. Spiritual Beggars, one I've mentioned before. They're more of a stoner band, Sabbath, mixed with bit of Zeppelin, very much a retro sound, great band. That's Michael Armott's band, the guitarist Michael Armott, great guitarist. Opeth, obviously I'm sure you guys all know Opeth. They started out as a death metal band, but then the last couple of albums are just pure 70s prog, which I prefer, and great stuff. They've done at least 10 or 11 albums. Then there's a band called Sienna Root, another band I urge you guys to check out. They do sort of a psychedelic, classic rock, Deep Purple, Uriah Heep kind of feel, great Hammond organ. That's the other thing I forgot to mention with Kamchatka. And a lot of the albums, Per Weiberg does some great Hammond work as well, I think in the third and fourth album especially. Forgot to mention that. So that's Sienna Root. Then there's a band called Anglergard, and that's a prog rock band. Great stuff. That's a band you sit back with a pair of headphones on and they just take you away. Amazing stuff. And last, the band called The Quill, which is a Sabbath kind of stoner rock band, also very good. That's just a drop in the ocean. There are so many others, but I could talk for hours about Swedish rock bands. So there we have it. Kamchatka. Do yourself a favor and try and find these guys either online. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube. There's a nice Rock Palast concert, I think, from 2016, which features the current lineup with Per Weiberg on bass. That's a cool concert to check out. They haven't released an official live DVD, which is a shame. I'm hoping that one day they're going to do that because they're really pretty good on as a live band as well as in the studio. So there we go. Next week, I might be covering one more band in this sort of should be bigger thing, or we might try something else. But I hope to see you guys again. Have a great week and take it easy. Cheers.